Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Rambling Through Everyday Life with Fran and Angela. My name is Fran, and I am one of the co-hosts for this podcast. Merry Christmas, everybody. How are you holding up? You're either full-blown, all in, falalala, la 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 la. You are loving it and living your best life. Or maybe you are just starting out and don't have a stinking clue what you're supposed to be doing, when you're supposed to be doing it, what are you bringing, what are you not bringing. I don't know. I kind of think that every day I kind of live that way. I had to text somebody last night and be like, okay, we've got this Christmas thing on Friday. Is this the thing where I bring this or I bring that? Like, I just, so much, But it's so fun. And this is a fun episode. This week's episode is a fantastic conversation with Angela and myself and JJ Weeks. Do y'all know JJ Weeks? You are going to love listening to who he is as a singer, songwriter, what it's like to be on the road, living out of a tour bus and performing in front of all the people. It's just a great episode. Perfect for this time of year. You will be encouraged, inspired, and who doesn't love to just eavesdrop on somebody else talking and asking all the questions? I don't know. That's what makes this world fun for us. Okay, let's see what else. We love you guys. Hey, don't forget Proverbs 16:24. Do you remember that that's the verse that is truly the foundation for this podcast? Let me remind you that this verse tells us that we need to be kind and gracious in our words, because those words are, they're like a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. And don't you want that to be said of you, that you are the type of person that brings those kind of words into the conversation? So, okay, enjoy the show, everybody. Have a great day. We sure do love you. Okay, falalala. Merry Christmas, Angela. It's December. Here we are again recording in the most fantastic, fabulous, wonderful time of the year.
It's the best time.
It's the best time, except for, I will say this, it is like 70 degrees outside right now, and it just doesn't feel Christmassy. I don't know. I need it to be a little bit colder. I don't love winter, but I don't love 70 at Christmas.
Well, I've got the fix for that, Fran.
Okay, what's that? Turn up the air
You know what
conditioning.
we all need to do in addition to the air conditioning?
What?
Crank up the Christmas music.
I know it, sister. I love it.
I have had one song on repeat, actually two songs, and coincidentally, they are both sung by today's guest on the podcast.
Shocker, right
so
there.
How about that? my favorite slow Christmas song to get me spiritually set is "Do Not Be Afraid." I love it so much. My favorite cover of our favorite Christmas movie is "The Spirit of Christmas."
Yes.
Sung by the fabulous JJ Weeks.
JJ, welcome. Woohoo, welcome
What's
to the
going
show.
on?
Happy you're here.
I'm happy to be here.
This is
I'm
fun.
glad we
Thank
made
you.
it.
Well, we are excited to talk to you about music and lots of other things. I was thinking back to when we first met, and I had to actually look it up because we've known each other for a while now, so I couldn't even remember when that was. April 23rd, 2015.
Oh, wow.
2015.
That just seems like a long time ago.
That'll take you back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Fran was there.
We're just getting old. That's just all it is. We're just getting old.
Yeah.
Do you remember, JJ, when it was about to turn 2020 and we really honestly wondered, how are we going to say that? Like when you went from the teens to the 2020, like it just seemed like this foreign concept. Now 2015 seems like 100 years ago. That's crazy.
Well, let's think back to when it was turning 2000. Like I can go even that far back.
Oh,
when they were like, the whole world's going to end.
Yeah.
It's 2000. Nothing.
Y2K.
Y'all remember that? Like all the missiles are going to launch at the same time.
Your computer will explode. Yep.
We're still here.
We are. We're still standing, people.
Well, we met way back then. You came to the barn at Snyder Farms for a concert. And we
love that place.
Well, we love you being in that place. And we all, Fran and I, and, you and Carl became best buddies quickly, and you're just family to us. So first of all, thank you for being here.
Sweet.
Well, thanks for taking the time, and guys, and thanks for loving our music so much. You guys have even though we don't get to talk to each other a lot, you guys have always jumped in, and Carl writes or you write and say, man, I'm listening to this song and it means a lot to me. And so that means a lot to me as well. So it's good to be here.
Are we having technical issues?
No,
Are
we're
we
just,
good?
yeah, we're
Okay.
good.
Okay. So JJ, I want to talk about your family real quick. Special shout out to your wife and beautiful children. Tell us about your family.
I have a fantastic family. My wife is just beautiful. And I just, whenever you have somebody that, God's linked you to, and that's Lori. I mean, she's an independent woman who, doesn't, when we're out on the road and I'm on the bus, the world doesn't fall apart, and then she takes care of the kids and all that kind of stuff. So I just have a fantastic wife. And then I have a beautiful 17-year-old daughter now, which makes me sick to my stomach. And then 10-year-old little boy who is a fireball. And so it's crazy. Life's crazy. It doesn't slow down. It speeds up is what I've learned.
Absolutely.
Yes, it
Everybody
does.
understands that.
And let's tell people where you're from. I just jumped right into how you're our family, and we just claim you as being part of West Tennessee, but you actually live somewhere else, JJ.
I do. I actually live in, if you know the movie Fried Green Tomatoes, do you know that movie?
Well, of course.
Yes.
So the Whistle Stop Cafe that's in that movie is in my hometown. I live in Juliet, Georgia, and so which is just outside of Macon, Georgia.
That's
just south
awesome.
of Atlanta.
That sounds so Southern and special. Juliet, Georgia.
I live in Juliet. Now, I'm on the road so much and go to different cities all the time. To be honest with you, it is fantastic to come home to more of a small town vibe. Like we don't have a red light in our little town. And it's fantastic.
Those places still exist.
They're far and in between.
That's awesome.
And it's very close to the home of the World Series champion Atlanta Braves. We have to throw that out there.
That's right. And
listen,
there's so much history in Macon, with the Allman Brothers and Jason Aldean's from Macon, and there's just a lot of rich musical history here as well. So it's a really cool place to live.
Well, how did you get into the music industry? Tell us just a little bit about background. What got you to this point? How did you become the JJ Weeks?
Well,
is that your real name, JJ? Or is that your road name?
So people don't know my real name very often because it like JJ Weeks literally was just talking to a guy about this and coming back from lunch, and my fourth grade, there were 7 Jasons in the class. Well, I'm Jason Weeks. So I was the last person to get to pick a nickname. And I thought all the good ones were gone, And so I was like, just call me JJ. And literally I graduated high school where people, when they called Jason Clint Weeks, on the diploma, they were like, who's that? Who's that? And so they see me stand up and they're like, I had no idea. So yeah, my real name's Jason Clint, and I would have said JC, but who can compete with Jesus Christ? You know what I mean?
Oh, there you go.
Good answer. Good answer. So have you always been a singer? When did that start?
I grew up in a family. My mom and dad both can sing okay, and they led worship in church, and so our church was a very charismatic church, and music was a big portion of what our church, the heartbeat of our Sunday mornings. And so music was just kind of thrown at me, hey, you got a Christmas program or you got this and you need to sing in the choir. And then mom became the worship, because I grew up in a Pentecostal church where they like swing from chandeliers and stuff like that. And so mom became the worship pastor. And so every Pentecostal church, everybody's a pastor. And so mom became the worship pastor, and next thing I know, I was playing drums or I was singing. They just, wherever there was a need, we've got, me and my brother both kind of got thrown into those situations. And I guess early on, maybe when I was 12 or so, everybody said, man, this little kid, he can sing pretty good. And the truth was my brother sang better than I did, but he was older. So he always got all the good things in church, but I started getting some plays and stuff like that. And I'd get the lead role because the lead role would have, you know, to sing solos and stuff like that. So I did that growing up all the way through church. And then when I was 21, I was in school at Lee University and was studying to be a youth pastor because I kind of felt like that's what I was supposed to do. Even though in my heart I knew I was supposed to sing, I just didn't see a financial stability in it. And so I told God, well, I'll be a youth pastor and then I can just sing on the side or whatever. And there was a gentleman named Jackie Backus, and he's no longer with us, died of a massive heart attack at 50, who was an incredible singer. And I think he saw something in me before everybody else did, and kind of started pushing me to sing and do it. And because he believed in me and because he was such an incredible singer to me, I thought maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. And so at 21, I'll never forget, I was in Alabama. I was singing for this youth conference thing that was just kind of put together. And I was doing, I don't know if anybody remembers mini disc players.
Oh,
and
gosh.
And
throwing it back.
I had a remote and I clicked play on my mini disc player to sing. I'm pretty sure it was Trading My Sorrows. And it was an upbeat song. And man, I just began to weep every time I'd try to start singing. And I just couldn't figure out what was going on. And so I stopped it. I went back and I tried to dry myself up and I hit play again. And the second time, the same thing happened. I just start singing and just weep. And it was the presence of God was just so heavy. And I hit pause, or I hit stop, and then I went to 100 because you could put like 400 songs on those mini disc players. And I went to 100 because that was my altar music, where my altar music stuff was. And I said, look, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to spend a few minutes with the Lord in the altar. If you want to join me, come down. And I remember laying face down on that red carpet in that church in Vance, Alabama. And what felt like 10 minutes to me was 3 hours later, got up out the floor.
Oh, wow.
And I just, my uncle was the only one still there. And he said, I guess you know what you need to do now, don't you? I guess I was praying aloud, while I was down, and came home, man. And I just took off. And I was acting as the youth pastor at my home church. And so I went to the pastor and I said, look, I'm supposed to be doing music. And that was kind of the first steps of music for me.
Where all have you been in your career? What are some of the highlights that stand out for us? Of course, it's Barn Fest and some of the tours, right, because, we just like having you around here, but you've been to some big places and played with some well-known people. What jumps out at you in your career?
Man, every night is special to me because, you're if you're really doing it, I think for me, it's always been, man, let's do this. And if God's not getting some kind of glory out of it, it's useless. Like, I don't want to leave my wife and kids at home, to go and do something for the fun of it or for the money of it, because you don't get a lot of money in Christian music. And so, anyway, long story short, I have had some fantastic moments. I remember one that really stood out was when Let Them See You kind of started hitting, Let Them See You and Me, and the Dove Awards. So that's like the Christian award show, like the CMAs and all that stuff. And I remember them reaching out and saying, hey, we want you to sing this year in front of one of the awards. And it was just a monumental thing for me. And what sucked is that night, I don't know if suck's the right word for this, but anyway,
we're not going to edit it out.
What was bad is I was sick that night, and allergies. Of course you were. My throat was all jacked up. Yeah, my throat was all jacked up, and I remember getting through the song, and I thought, man, I made it. And then I'm on the last chorus, and my throat just stops. And,
oh man!
And I kind of turn my head and I clear my throat, and I come singing. I just come back again and sing the rest of the song. And I had some people come up to me after that and say, hey, you covered that perfectly, so it was really cool because some of the mentors, some people I look up to, was very complimentary that night. And then Winter Jam, I've been on Winter Jam a couple of times, and that was a monumental thing, Winter Jam tour. But probably the one the most, and I know I'm chatting too much, but the one that spoke to me the most was Winter Fest in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, or Knoxville at the time. And I grew up going to that year after year, year after year. And I remember sitting in a seat in that arena and God saying, you could be up on that stage. And so I finally got the opportunity to do that with Winterfest, and I went and I put a CD of ours, taped it up under the seat where I remember God talking to me. And when I was on stage, I said, I've always dreamed of being on the stage. And I said, if it's your dream, chase after it, And I said, somebody under your seat is where I was sitting when I felt like God told me I could do this. And so it was a special moment. It was really special.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. I think what I love when I listen to you just talk about your background and your history and where you are today is that you are you're clearly a very humble person and know where your eyes need to be fixed and why you do what you do. And so that's just nice to hear in a world where we all know, I mean, nothing has really changed, but especially, due to social media and just young people having to grow up in this world, they are thinking, I want to be that person on the stage. I want to be that person in the tour bus. I want to be that person. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. As long as we know, who brought us there. Right. And who's going to ultimately get the glory in this. And so we're just so grateful. Thank you for your humility and just not forgetting and who you are. And yes, who has placed you on the stage and given you the gifts that have been given to you. Okay. So kind of along the same lines is, I do think all of us, I think that if you could kind of cut away to people and, just for kicks and fun. I'm talking just for kicks and fun. Okay. For kicks and fun. I think everybody'd be like, yeah, I want to be like a star, like I want to see what it's like to live on a bus. I want to see what it's like to be on any kind of stage, not talking about, how many people are, listening, but just what does that feel like? I've got all boys and they were all athletes. And so I would say to them, I'm never going to hit a home run. I'm never going to score a touchdown. Like, what is that like?
I feel like, yeah.
Yeah. So talk to us about tour bus life. Talk to us about the fun, but then, we all know, like, come on, y'all, really, who wants to do that for more than about 2 days? I know there's some cost involved there, but for kicks and fun, what's it like? Just humor us for a minute, and we're just going to all close our eyes and pretend like we're living that world with you.
Well, there's some really great moments of it, especially when you're traveling with people you love and you care about and you enjoy. Man, I remember times where I just couldn't wait to get on the bus and get going, because you're driving from city to city, you're tearing down and you're getting back in the bus and you're driving to the next city. It's almost like I don't know how to explain it. We never traveled. It was just a rule of thumb for us not to travel with females on the bus with a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
And so it was just a bunch of dudes riding around in a bus, and so you can imagine.
Just stop right there. Stop right there. A bunch of dudes on a bus. Just stop right there.
You kind of go to 8th grade, like middle school, even if you're 40. And so there's a lot of fun on it. And you get to experience, you get to see things. I remember the first time we were driving toward Missouri, and I remember it vividly, like all of a sudden, the arch came into view, and it was just like really neat. Now, I always saw it was through a window on a bus as we were driving through, but it was really cool to do that. And then we were on a trip up in South Dakota, and we literally had 2 hours between the morning session and the afternoon session for this conference we were at. And so like we dipped to Mount Rushmore and got to see it for like 15 minutes. So, there's a lot of really great moments. But honestly, for me, it's the people that
Yeah.
I get to meet.
Yeah.
I get to meet a lot of really awesome people, man, and a lot of people that's hurting, a lot of people
Yeah.
that's, winning. You get to see all facets. And like I said, I grew up in a Pentecostal church, and so it's like, that's the only way to heaven. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And then all of a sudden I'm in a Baptist church, and I'm seeing people that love the Lord just as much.
Mhm.
And I'm in a Methodist church. I've been in every denomination you can count.
Mhm.
Mennonite, you name it.
Mhm.
I've
Mhm.
seen it all and been in it all. And it's just really cool to see how um actual we're actually really similar,
Yeah.
more than we are different.
Oh,
And I
absolutely.
think because we grow up in these worlds of
Mhm.
this or that,
Mhm.
that we think everybody's different, but honestly,
Mhm.
we're all pretty similar, which is cool. That was really cool to see.
Hey, let me ask you. I'm going to fire off some questions, and you're going to give me a one-word answer.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready? Or
I hope.
I'll let you have like up to 10 words.
Okay.
Okay. Or true and false, yes, no, whatever comes out of your mouth.
Okay.
So when you're on the bus, on that tour bus for a long period of time, are there times when you literally have no idea where you are?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. You don't know what town you're in
All the time.
all the time. Okay. What's the best place? What's the best city, town, anywhere that you've been to that you would want to go back to that you haven't been to again?
I love different cities for different reasons. Sorry, but Houma, Louisiana.
Never heard of
I
it.
know, I know. It's south of New Orleans, and I love the people there. I love the atmosphere, man. They are, it is literally Louisiana to the
That's awesome.
core.
That's awesome. Do you eat junk food all the time when you're on the bus?
I used to,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Okay.
When I was younger and I was doing everything, I used to. I can't no more. I
Yeah,
can't.
right. I know. Age. Hello, age.
Yeah.
Do you have the same bus driver all the time?
No. Most of the time you have the same guy, but not all the time.
Not all the time. And is the correct terminology? Well, what do you call the people that do all that tear down and load up and all that hard, heavy work? Are those really called roadies?
No.
What is a roadie? What's a roadie? Did I just
Uh,
make that word up?
No, you didn't. The roadies would be super fans.
Oh, well, okay. How about
Yeah.
that?
The
What
ones
do
that
I
are a little
know?
bit like the ones that are like,
Yeah.
Like a little
you see them
crazy.
like, how did you get here? It's 6 hours from your home,
Hey,
and
do
they
you
think
still
you're like best friends, it's like, hey
Oh,
man,
okay.
dude,
Yeah.
like the
I brought you some
Snyders?
cookies.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like the Snyder family? We think we're best friends.
No,
Here, eat
different,
these
there's
cookies. There's
definitely,
nothing wrong.
that's
Nothing
the
wrong.
there's the scary part. I had this one, and I don't know, hopefully, anyway, I'm not gonna call any names, but this one person, who, like, I'm sorry, they would show up at a show, and it's just like,
Oh,
what
here we
in,
go.
like, and then they would bring these, like, a pie and stuff, and I'm like, bro, I'm scared to eat it. I'm scared to eat it.
Yeah,
And so, yeah.
that's a little much.
Hey, do you still
Mhm.
have the Stormtrooper?
I do, but I did
What's
get a
that?
new bus, by the way.
Okay, the Stormtrooper was the coolest bus ever. We've got to tell us about the Stormtrooper,
That was the
JJ.
So,
name of the bus, the
yeah, it's been
Stormtrooper.
my bus for years. I've
I
had it
feel
for
like
about
it has
7 or 8 years.
lightning down the side. Does it have painted lightning
It
down the side?
doesn't. It
Okay.
doesn't. It's all white with black wheels and blacked out windows and
Oh,
stuff. So it looks like a
fancy.
stormtrooper from
Like
Fancy.
Star
Star Wars.
Wars.
Star Wars. This
Yeah.
is fancy bus right here. Okay.
It was incredible. It really is
Yeah.
incredible.
Okay. Last question. If you could go anywhere that you haven't been, where would you want to go and sing?
I think I would like to. I think I would like to sing at Madison Square Gardens, and I'm not there.
Oh, that'd be
Yet.
awesome. That'd be awesome.
That's fancy.
Yeah. Listen, Angela and I are ready to be the background vocals.
Tambourine. We'll bring a tambourine.
That's right. That's
Happy
right.
to do it. Happy to do it, brother. Okay, that was fun. Thank you for clearing all of that up.
Well,
No problem.
tell us about music. Have you got new music coming out?
I do. Actually, man, a lot of my artist friends in 2020, they were like, man, I just sat at home and wrote. Man, honestly, in 2020, I didn't write one thing. I just, we went from doing 100, we normally do 100 to 125 shows a year. And we only did 27 in 2020. And that's how this is how we take care of our families, It was a rough year. But man, I tell you, like, I was just present at home for the first time, probably ever, for my family, because I got married. I was already on the road. I was already traveling. And so it was all my wife knew. It's all my daughters ever known. It's all my sons ever known, is traveling. And so, man, when 2020 hit, I was on Winter Jam. And we were in Louisville, Kentucky. We were set up, ready to play. And they were like, this show's canceled. And we thought, well, we'll be back a couple weeks, So I went home, and I just was home for the first time probably in my entire life as a family, And so I just spent time at home. And it was incredible. I think probably monumental for my daughter and I's relationship, because my daughter, she's my daughter, no question about it, but she's not biologically my daughter. She was married into her at 2 years old, 2.5. And so I've always been, I've always wanted to be the dad that, she would run up to, and be like, hey, Dad, but for some reason, we just never had that relationship. It wasn't that we didn't love each other. It wasn't that we didn't show it. We just didn't have that relationship. And I wanted it for years. And so 2020, I believe, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm not saying God made a pandemic for the world, for me and her and our relationship, but I do believe he paused our life for a few minutes to nurture that relationship. It's been really good.
What a
Yeah,
gift.
it's been really good.
Okay, music.
So I didn't
You
do
got
anything.
music coming
Anyway,
out.
I'm sorry.
No, we want to make sure we buy music, because I want to talk about how we can support you artists that went from all the shows to none of the shows.
Yeah, right. And so anyway, I started, I kind of got a drive to write again. And I put together a couple of writes in Nashville, went up there and sat down with a couple of people. Tony Wood and Michael Farron and Ian Eskelin are all phenomenal in the industry world. And so we sat down and we wrote a song called Changed. And man, it just lit a fire under me again for writing and for songs. And so we just got after it. I started writing more. So we've got a song called Change that I'm super excited about. We got a song called Graveyard that I'm super excited about. And then another one called Somebody's Night that I'm super stoked about. So all coming out probably springish next year. So we're working on everything now, finishing it up.
That's awesome.
How do we make sure our dollars supports your family and other artists' families? What do we need to do as music fans to make sure we're supporting y'all right now?
It's a difficult season for musicians, because streaming is unfortunately a necessity in this day and time. I remember, I've been around long enough to remember when people was buying CDs and how cost effective that was for the artist to help push it. But with streaming, you literally, every time you listen to a song on streaming, the artist gets less than a cent, less than 1 cent for every time you stream. So it's but it's a necessary evil. You kind of got to play in that ball field because everybody's going that direction. So the best way to sew into artists right now is go to their shows. Go and buy their product from their tables. Live music right now has never been more important for artists than it is right now.
That's so good to know. That's very helpful.
Love that. Love that. Real quick, I want to talk about compassion, because my sister said, if we don't talk about compassion, I'm in trouble. She loves her compassion child like it is part of her family, because he is.
Right.
They have, at your concert in 2015 or somewhere thereabouts, you talked about it. She adopted this little boy, Bienvenu, from Africa, and her whole family has watched him grow up over the last few years. So tell us really quickly why you love compassion and how we can get involved.
These child sponsorship organizations blow my mind with what they do, and they're all fantastic. Compassion, Holt International. I've been with them some over the last couple of years. It had what they do for these kids overseas is just, it's unmeasurable. You literally cannot put a dollar figure on it. I mean, they literally change these kids' lives all over the world, and it just blows my mind what, a little more than 4 quarters a day, can do in the life of these kids across the ocean. And I have people say all the time, well, what are y'all doing for the people in America? Well, America has programs to help take care of these kids, and every dime that you pay at the gas pump for taxes and those things, and when you pay taxes, that's money that's going to help those kids. These foreign countries don't have that kind of situation. I mean, I literally was in Mongolia 2018, right at the end of 2018, before all this pandemic started. And I'm literally standing in a garbage dump, and so you roll in and there's people everywhere in this garbage dump collecting trash, just picking up stuff. And you're like, what is going on here? Like, they think they must work here, and they're doing something, whatever. No, these people are homeless people, and they're out here collecting trash. And then, so you drive through and it's like, well, that's an adult, right? I'm like, I look over him, that's a grown man. Like, he could go get a job at McDonald's. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy for me to look at somebody who is capable of going and doing something else. It's easy for me to judge them and say, well, they should go and do this, right? They should go and do this. But you go maybe 100 yards further, and you enter what they call the kids section of the dump. That's when it changed game for me. When I looked around and there were hundreds of kids collecting trash in these dumps, just literally picking up recyclable things that they can try to sell and make some money on. It just blew my mind. I stayed out there for 2 hours and met as many as I could, and I didn't even meet a portion of who was out there. And there was literally a kid at 6 years old that was out there, parents gone, living at this dump in a tent on the side of the dump. There was a 10-year-old boy who had been out there. I mean, a 16-year-old boy who had been out there since he was 10. And his mission and his goal is to be a part of the gang that runs that dump. That's his mission in life. Yeah. And man, it just broke my heart. And then the next day we went to one of these works, and you could literally see the change from this to this, and for like $30 something a month.
Yeah. She's paying $38 a month. And that was their gift one Christmas to each other. Yeah. Their family adopted a child, and it has truly been the most beautiful experience for them. So,
I mean, it is absolute game changer for these kids. Yeah. And that's the reason I go and speak about it everywhere I go. I made a promise in that dump when I was leaving, and I was boohoo crying. I said, God, I will never step foot on another stage without giving one of these kids a chance to get out of this place. And I'm still trying to hold true to that promise.
Well, and I tell you, the older you get and the more life that you live, we understand that this world is not our home. And so while we are here on this earth, there's just a few things that I think we are all called to do, regardless if we're singing on a stage or not singing on a stage, whatever you're doing in this life. And, I do believe that we are all called to clearly take care of widows and orphans and those that are truly in desperate need, that don't have the systems and structures that we have in the United States to come alongside. And so anyway, I'm a huge Compassion fan. We have several kids that we sponsor, and just so thankful for the ministry and that organization. Okay. So as we conclude, let's leave us with this, Christmas, December, this is the time of year where it has the ability to bring up a lot of different emotions, a lot of different feelings for people. It's just you just don't ever know. In any given moment, you could be happy and thrilled one minute, and then another minute you're sad or lonely or frustrated. And, not to mention just the day and age that we live in. I mean, it's just a lot, it's just, there's just
Yeah.
a lot happening in the world, but just in people's lives as a result of the world, as a result of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So this is the time of year though, that, I mean, yeah, we kind of are, we're like, yeah, Jesus is the reason for the season, but Jesus is the reason for
Right.
this season, for all seasons. And I think that if we are not intentional in where we are placing our thoughts and our mind and our time and attention, we're going to be doom and gloom people. So we need to
Yeah.
be seen. We need to be living lives and speaking words that are hopeful, that are hope filled for this world. And you of course do that through your music, but where do you see hope in this world right now? Because I think whether we admit it or not, we're looking for it, and
Yeah.
we need it. So where do you see hope today?
It's a really tough season for a lot of people, especially this year. I've got a friend of mine, believe it or not, I was talking to you guys earlier, like in just a few minutes, I've got to go open our Christmas tree farm up that I'm working at this evening. And so a buddy of mine who was one of my youth back in the days. And he calls me and he's like, "Hey bro, my mom and myself and my wife want to come get a tree." What that told me is he's pushing his mom to go get a tree this year because his dad, who was 53 years old, died of COVID 5 months ago. And so even at the tree farm, I was like, how do I cast hope in this situation? Like, because after something like that, I can completely understand you don't want to put up a tree, you don't want to do anything. It's like I don't even want to celebrate. This time of year, and so when they pulled up, we were busy. Man, I'm telling you, we were so busy at this particular moment, and I was running my tail off. But I remember just stopping and going over, giving mom, his mom a hug, and I said, look, pick out whatever tree you want. This is an opportunity, not just on the stage. So basically what I'm saying is all of us have an opportunity to give hope in no matter what situation we're in. Just because I'm standing on a stage don't mean when I'm off the stage that I don't show hope. You know what I mean? Like
That's
I
right.
don't try to help people. Listen, my life has been rough the last 2 years. If I'm dead honest with you, financially, I've had to postpone payments. I've had to postpone payments on cars and houses. I've had an extremely rough couple of years, just trying to get back into gear with music and all this kind of stuff. It's been really tough. The crowds haven't come back. We're seeing half the crowds at the shows. So that means half the love offering and half, you know what I'm saying? And so I could easily sit back and just go, well, I'm just going to mope and say, man, my life sucks. Right. God, where are you? We could easily do that. And I believe for every one of your listeners, maybe even y'all, we all could say, I could just focus on me right now, and my problems and forget everybody else. But the truth is, that's not what God's called us to do. He literally told us, don't worry about what you're going to eat tomorrow. Don't worry about tomorrow. Focus on today. And so I think it's our job to just be hope in whatever situation we're in, whether our life is fantastic or not, is to be able to show hope to somebody else. Because I believe as Christian folks, we show people Jesus better in the valley than we will ever show people Jesus in the mountains and when the mountaintops, when everything's going great. I think we show people better when we are going through the storms, and yet we can still stand with our feet on the ground and know where our hope comes from. Because if hope comes from him, then we can show hope to others because we have hope in who he is. So I know maybe for a lot of people listening, this could be a tough time, tough season, especially maybe this year for people who are unexpectedly gone, but even in our hurt, even in the things that are going on in our life, let's just stand up and be a a beacon of hope, because God is our hope. And if he's our hope, we don't have to worry about tomorrow,
That's right. Amen. All the people said.
Amen. All the people said, JJ, we want to book you for a show this spring at the barn. Get ready, brother.
That's right. That's an encouraging word for us. Thank you so much. And this has just been fun. And I think for me, just, walking away from this is being intentional in how to support the music industry that's helpful. That we've heard that it was hard on you guys, but I appreciate your transparency and your honesty in that. And I think listeners will, I don't know, I think we'll all make an extra effort to support you guys. And then, just to be a light in a dark world right now. You've encouraged us a lot. Thank you.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
We're going to listen to the Spirit of Christmas, JJ.
Hey, check out Run, Run, Rudolph. I released it last year.
Yes. Do you have any other Christmas songs? Run, Run, Rudolph, Spirit of Christmas.
There's
Do Not Be
Even
Afraid.
in a Manger.
Even in a Manger.
That was released last year too. So I've got a little Christmas thing that has What Child Is This? You can go find it on Spotify and all that mess.
We'll link to it.
That's perfect.
Okay.
All
You're the
right.
best, JJ. Jason Weeks. Who
Clint.
knew?
If you say
Jason
Jason
Clint.
Clint, it'll sound like my mom. So,
Well, I'm not
Jason
your mom.
Clint.
Well, thank you, JJ. We hope
Thank
you and your
you.
family have a very Merry Christmas.
Y'all too. Thanks so much. Merry Christmas, y'all.